So, welcome back to Girl Take the Lead, the podcast where we challenge the status quo, share meaningful conversations, and explore what it really means to find our voice and lead with intention. And I'm your host, Yo Canny. Have you ever found yourself in a season of transition, wondering who you are becoming? Maybe you've wondered, who am I without the title I've worked so hard to earn? How do I move forward after experiences that have changed me? Is it possible to honor my ambition without losing myself along the way? If so, today's conversation is for you. Joining me is Kristine Frost, a former Chief Human Resources Officer, attorney, executive advisor, and founder of Shattered Glass Advisory. After more than 25 years leading people and culture in the demanding world of automotive manufacturing, she's now helping leaders navigate the realities of executive leadership while remaining true to themselves. Together, we'll explore how transitions can become opportunities for transformation, the hidden costs of leadership and perfectionism, why separating our identity from our title may be one of the most important leadership journeys we'll ever take. And perhaps most importantly, how do we hold on to who we truly are while navigating careers, change, and the expectations others place upon us? Whether you're navigating a career or life transition, retirement, leadership, or simply questioning what's next, I hope you'll come away with practical ideas and maybe even a few new questions to consider. Let's jump in. Here you go. So, welcome to Girl Take the Lead, Kristine. We're so glad that you're here and we're going to have the best conversation.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this for a couple of weeks, so I'm really happy to be here and share some insight and good conversation.
Yeah, thank you. And why don't we start? People would, your background is amazing. So, let's make sure we share that with everybody.
Absolutely. So, Kristine Frost, I am I am a lawyer who I call a reformed lawyer because I never worked in a firm. I avoided working for a firm, and it's been great. And I've carved out a career in a male-dominated industry, the automotive industry, as a chief HR officer, and that has been my most recent title, my most recent position. And it's been a very long journey to get there in some ways. In other ways, it seems like it was just yesterday that I was graduating law school. Beyond what I've done from a career standpoint, I am the mother to two amazing kids. I am a wife. I am a fierce advocate for my team and for those around me who have historically been underrepresented in rooms where decisions are being made.
Mm. And you have a great company. Talk a little bit about your company.
Yeah, absolutely. I took a very thoughtful moment last fall to step away from corporate America for a little while to basically pursue some things that were very important for me. Some of those were philanthropic, so I've been working with a lot of nonprofits. I'm writing a book which will likely be out in November, and I also founded a organization called Shattered Glass Advisory. And the purpose of Shattered Glass Advisory is sort of the practical side of those folks trying to get into a C-suite or working with boards where maybe you were very operationally focused and you understand that you're the best of the best in marketing or the best of the best in operations. But now you've taken on a role in the C-suite and it's less about operations and more about navigation skills, how to navigate power, visibility,
Mm.
influence in these rooms. And it's a completely different skill. And while I do think that in the United States and in business in general, I've had a great job at preparing traditionally men for those roles. I think women, people of color, LGBTQ individuals, people with disabilities who have not necessarily had that foundational investment by companies and by others within business. My goal is to help those individuals get into the C-suite and make profound positive impacts for their organizations.
Mm. Well, when I looked on your website, I know I'm a marketer.
Mhm.
That's where I came from. And I saw you make the point of you're differentiating yourselves. We're not coaches, we're advisors. I thought that was rather cool. Like, what do you see there as the difference between the two?
So I think coaching is great, and I'm not going to knock all my friends who are coaches. I think coaching is developmental. I think it's very important. But here we're talking about you're in the moment and you're not sure what to do.
Mm.
So you would contact us and we would help you. Typically, it's project based. It could be one-on-one advisory through, preparing for board meetings. But we're talking about what is happening in real life. We're not talking about theory. We're talking about absolute practicality.
Yeah. So this morning when you and I first connected, you talked about something that was on your mind and that you woke up into this morning. And I kind of think that there's maybe other women waking up into that same thing this morning. Do you mind sharing that a little bit more with us?
Sure, sure. I will say that I wake up every morning with an idea. Typically, I write or journal about it to really, I guess, be my own thought partner before I've had coffee. But this
Great
morning,
idea.
what resonated for me was women and how we have seemingly gone backwards in how women are positioned in our society. I take a look at it through the lens of being in business, being in male-dominated industries, being the only female in the room and at the table. And for me, 25 years ago, when I started out and I was young and I was aspiring, I did expect there to be those moments where, can you make the coffee? Or do you mind taking notes? Do you mind, setting the agenda? Do you mind sending out, the meeting notice? And, of course, everyone has to do that, or at least I thought everyone had to do that. And now stepping back, seeing that it's pretty much all the women in the room, maybe we're the most organized, probably. But I think I expected that. And also working in manufacturing and, being subjected to catcalls and being subjected to unwanted attention from male colleagues. That I think was sort of a bit of run of the mill, something that you almost expected. But what I found at that point in my life was if I said no, or if I set a boundary, those boundaries were respected, and I maintained my position of power.
Mhm.
I now fast forward to a real interesting point in our history, and that was the day after the 2016 election, where I found myself walking in as the head of HR into a manufacturing facility in a rural part of Michigan that I had visited several times. And as soon as I walked in the door, I was met by the maintenance supervisor who looked me straight in the face, and I'll tell you, he's probably about 8 inches taller than me. And he said, "What are you doing here?" And I looked at him very quizzically. And he then followed that by saying, "Don't you see who's president now? You should be home barefoot and pregnant." And I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to react to that. I mean, it jarred me. And I felt that continue through the rest of the day, where I spent some time working on a project team with some other leaders of the organization. And I'm talking about people with the title of VP. Um, and all of a sudden, in this room of men who are very familiar with one another, and me being sort of the outsider as the newest person on the team and also being the only female in the room, they started cutting up and making racist comments and making comments that were somewhat sexually explicit. And while I, as the head of HR, would normally say, okay, guys, like, no, this is inappropriate. We need to focus on what we need to focus, and, we'll have a conversation outside of this room about individually about this behavior. I felt I felt like I was in danger. I
Mm,
felt like I could not speak at all. And I think that now reflecting on that, I regret at that moment not speaking up because
mhm,
that's very much unlike me. But as I've seen, the last 10 years unfold, it's become clear that, rights are being taken away from
mm,
women, from LGBTQ people. We have immigrants who are being threatened. We have all of these things happening that when I look at the history and women's suffrage and where we've been over 100 years, I can't believe that we are in this moment. And it's exhausting. It's suffocating in so many ways. And there isn't a place to turn. You used to be able to go up to, you used to be able to make a claim with the EEOC if you were having a issue regarding harassment at work. Um, and so much of that has been taken away, particularly since early January of 2025, and there is no place to turn. And I think that that is now empowering
mhm.
this misogyny to come up. And if you make these comments, and if you make these comments, you're suddenly inconvenient. You're
Mm.
suddenly the person or the individual with the performance issue. And then you eventually find yourself without a job. And I see this happening more and more, and it is disheartening to say the least.
Yeah. Do you think that those are moments of trauma that we go through as women?
I think they are very traumatic.
Yeah.
I think when that happens, it also brings up a lot of trauma. And we as women, I think have found ourselves in traumatic experiences, whether they were, personal relationships or things that have maybe happened in the workplace, and things that we didn't realize at the time
Yeah.
were traumatic. And I think that particularly for women who are very high achieving, who are very type A,
Hmm.
um, sometimes we'll find ourselves in a situation that we don't quite have words for.
Right.
And we do the work and we find out, oh, I am this way. I am very type A because this was the only way that I got recognized by, say, my father,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I also think sometimes our parents just put us on a particular path to try and protect us and, you know, go
Hmm.
to college, get the degree, just the that's where I've come to kind of look at these things like they were doing the best that they could at the time to protect us. And the trauma that can result from some of those experiences, they didn't know how to deal with them.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
right. And I love that you were just so vulnerable there to say, I just didn't know what to do because there was so many times in my career over the 42 years that I
Mhm.
just didn't know what to do. It was that paralyzing moment of, I can't believe this is happening. Like, what do I do? Do I
Mhm.
flee? Do I do I fight? What exactly is that paralyzing moment? But I think that you've learned through this, right? I mean, you've looked at this and you're writing your book and you're advising people more and more about this, right? How to leverage those moments.
Yes, definitely how to leverage those moments. But I think it's also important not only to leverage that, but even more importantly, not to lose yourself in the process. As I mentioned, you when you're climbing the corporate ladder, and I know you've experienced this as well, you you will throw things to the wind. You will, there are, your time is suddenly all wrapped up in work. Um, Everything you do, you work night and day, night and day. When you are second guessed, you show up the next day with even more data. And I find as women, we are often second guessed. I've sat in rooms where there have been men who have made the most preposterous statements only based on emotion, not based on any available data. And I or another woman may show up with an armful of data, and all of a sudden it's, hmm, are you sure about that? Maybe you should go back and take a look at X, Y, and Z and provide an analysis to us on this. And and that's tough. That's very, very tough to continually earn that credibility, and to understand how to maneuver through those dynamics, in rooms that really weren't meant for us.
Hmm. Hmm. Definitely. Well, tell us a little bit about the book that you're doing. I know it's not coming till November, and we'll kind of keep our listeners and viewers aware when you do. But tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I have been in a position of transition, and I use that term very broadly, and stepping away from corporate and going on this journey of finding those things and immersing myself in those things that are passions of mine that bring me joy,
Mhm.
as opposed to putting myself in a box day after day after day and and being expected to do things right,
Mhm.
but not being recognized for doing the right thing. And there's a huge differential in doing things right versus doing the right thing. And
Mhm.
for me, the corporate world was do things right, do things right, do things right. But where were you doing the right thing? And I think taking this time and shifting into this transition helped me to focus on making sure that I've been doing the right thing. And so in part of that journey now has been writing my own book and also founding Shattered Glass Advisory. And the book is really the personal side of the transition. I go into what leadership is, the cost of that leadership, the cost of striving for perfection on a daily basis and grinding out 16, 18, 20-hour days, being on airplanes going to various parts of the world to solve business problems. But also talk about grief and losing roles that I thought were the perfect role for me, or the disappointment that may come when your non-negotiables are challenged. um I also talk a lot about my ambitions, my identity, and even at almost 51 years of age, I sometimes ask the question, well, frequently ask the question, who am I? Because there's this very professional side of me that shows up, that's buttoned up, that's very pragmatic. And then there is this real me, which is I'm working with somebody who's now termed it the full volume Kristine. And how do I now take those two and marry them into one presence, right? Because I certainly would show up a little bit buttoned up in a corporate environment. And that serves a purpose, but I think it's also been a disservice to myself. So working through some identity topics and then all of the other things that happen in our lives beneath that title that we hold dearly. And sometimes some of us, have difficulty separating ourselves from our title. And that can be very traumatic, especially when that title is no longer there and you find yourself in transition.
Yeah. Transition is, I've come to accept it as an opportunity for transformation,
Absolutely.
because you're at that nothingness, like it's no title, no group, no external validation anymore. It's totally an internal validation that you're counting on. Um, and it's pretty wild. I've just been going through, you can't predict either when they're going to come. Like I always thought it was a major milestone would happen. And then, whether it was getting laid off or, getting fired or whatever,
Mhm, mhm.
um, some kind of something forced. But it can also happen when you're just going along life. And then all of a sudden it's like, what is this about really? What are you doing? Who are you? I love the question that you asked yourself. Who am I in this? Right. I mean, it, you can go to that bottom of that question and then find nothing because the story's gone or the motivation you had before has changed or whatever. And that is an opportunity to transform.
It absolutely is. I learned very early on in my career that if I was going to try and seek happiness from my career, I was going to be very disappointed in life.
Oh, God, yes.
And so I've spent, my side projects of doing those things again, filling my cup with those things that I am passionate about, that bring me the most joy, helping people first
Yeah.
and foremost. And I have found that through writing this book and launching Shattered Glass Advisory and working with nonprofit boards, these are the activities that fill my cup. And I can be successful at them, and I can also be happy
Mm,
without needing something to be happy about. I don't need that, recognition at work. I know that, today I'm going to spend time with you, speaking
uh,
to your audience and, hopefully sharing maybe a little bit of wisdom. And that fills my cup. And I will say that, while transitions can come at the most unexpected time, I think it's so important, as you mentioned, to leverage it to be a
mm,
transformation.
mm. Yeah, because I think it clears the way for perhaps some of the beliefs that we were holding on um, to shift and to change, and for us to realize that, that belief maybe carried us in a moment, but we don't need it now. You can let it go. Um, and it creates a lot of space within us. And so we're able to, I think, to shift the way we are. But you've mentioned some great actions. I mean, I love this idea of waking up in the morning and taking your ideas, that creativity is flowing. I know for me, it's like I try and remember my dreams because I always feel like it's my subconscious trying to tell me something to do, or where I am. And I'm always in a building trying to find my way out, which means I don't know where I'm going. I can't find the exit. And it's pretty cool actually when I think about it because I'm just sort of exploring. And I think it's a time for us first thing in the morning. Are there other actions that you would recommend us to take to get in
Yeah,
touch with that?
yeah, I'm a solid believer in you set. the direction of your day through the actions you take first thing in the morning. So I'll just give you a little bit about my routine. First thing I do is meditate. I spend about 10 minutes meditating, and it's typically a type of meditation that helps my body to sort of wake up and position me mentally for, my default, which is happy. That is my default. If I wake up and it's raining and I don't like rain, it's fine. There's a reason for the rain. The rain will eventually clear and bring sunshine. But my default position when I wake up is happy. And I have to have my coffee, and I sit with my coffee in my hands. I let it warm my hands. I smell the aroma of the beans. I don't rush to that first sip. And for me, it's almost like its own little meditation. And I then do that while listening to music. I'll turn on Spotify and just, find something nice and gentle and easy to get the day started. And then I journal whatever topics are coming to mind.
Yeah.
And actually, that's where the book came from. It was journaling through this transition period.
Mm, yeah. I am taking on writing my own memoir in a way that is artistic. I've got, I want to do collage for the period of time and then do some writing and then use all my, it's for me, my scrapbook and some of the artistic skills I have to put them together. And I think it's just so important to be in touch with your story and your journal, just to see where you are. It takes it out of your mind
Yeah,
and gives us a chance to observe it, right?
absolutely. And I think, both in career and in life, and I know we mentioned trauma a bit, but so many of us have pushed mental health aside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that that's probably generationally, it was a taboo topic. We don't talk about mental health. We don't understand why kids today have so many words for their feelings and emotions when I think I recalled maybe three emotions growing up. Happy, sad, mad. Are there any other emotions?
Brene
I don't
Brown
know.
says there's like 87. So
Yes, yes. I discovered this I discovered this about 5 or 6 years ago. I found this wheel of emotion and I thought, oh, frustration is an emotion. I feel that all the time. Um, and
uh-huh.
I really do think that, we have to put our mental health first. And another part of the book that I'm writing when we talk about identity and when we talk about navigating change in life, um, I get very personal about my own struggles and achievements in mental health. I have, I came out of, I think, COVID with a realization that this was a topic that I needed to talk about. Having a position of authority, and having people who, sought me out for mentorship and advice, I needed folks to know that we are all human. I am human. I have moments where, I can't remember what I did 5 minutes ago, or I have challenging times where depression comes in and that shows up as isolation for me. Um, and this is definitely a theme that goes throughout the book. And going back to sort of my daily non-negotiables, I also do some DBT practice, skills practice, dialectical behavioral therapy. And that, I think, also helps round out my morning to ensure that, when I am faced with something challenging, that my response is measured and appropriate, as opposed to, losing my mind over something very little like traffic.
Responding without thinking, perhaps.
Ah, yes.
Never had that happen
Never
to
done
me.
that.
Oh, I love that. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to cover in our episode today? We've had such And I so appreciate your vulnerability and your openness, and your courage to talk about things that are on a lot of people's minds. So
Yeah,
thank you for that.
absolutely. Oh, my pleasure. I think what I do want to leave the audience with is, I've been in those rooms. I've been there with the board. I've been there in the C-suite. And it's been a challenge not only to get there, but to continually prove that I belong there. I'm at a point in my life where I am no longer trying to prove to anyone that I belong in those rooms. I am deciding what I'm going to challenge, what I will refuse to normalize, and what the women who follow me should not have to tolerate when I'm gone.
Woohoo! A lady speaking my lip. I love it. I totally love it. I feel like we're very aligned on our purpose right now and our
I think
mission.
so. I think so for sure.
So, how can our folks find you? And if they want to work with you, your website,
Yeah,
probably.
absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn, Kristine Frost, which I'm sure my name will be spelled in the show notes. And I can be reached, my business, Shattered Glass Advisory. It's www Shattered Glass Advisory, all one word, .com.
Great. Best way to reach you. And I'm wondering, I ask all my guests this question. Christine, what would you tell your 20 something self today?
I would tell my 20 something self something that my mom told me probably probably in my teens over and over and over. And that is don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff.
I think that was a book too, not just
I think you're right, but the number of times my mom would tell me that and I refused to listen, I tell you right now, it is my go-to in almost every circumstance.
love it, love it, love it. And lastly, I know you got a chance to go to the online store and pick something that's going to be my pleasure to send you. What was that?
So I found this beautiful card that reads, Be you, the world will adjust, with all the colors of the rainbow, which I think is just absolutely perfect for
Yeah.
June is Pride Month.
Yay. All right. Thank you again, Christine. I so appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
My sincere thanks to Christine for sharing her wisdom, vulnerability, openness, and her leadership journey with us today. One idea that really stayed with me from our conversation is this: transitions can become opportunities for major transformation. Here are three reflections to carry with you. One, your title may describe what you do, but it never defines who you are. Two, the beliefs that once helped you succeed may not be the ones you need for your next chapter. And three, sometimes the greatest act of leadership is deciding what you will no longer normalize for yourself and for those who follow. Mm. If you'd like to learn more about Kristine and her work with Shattered Glass Advisory, you'll find links to her website and LinkedIn in today's show notes. And if you've enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to join us on Thursday for a special soundbite, which is a short reflection inspired by today's episode, where we'll take one idea a little deeper. This week's reflection explores who am I now? The hidden gift inside every transition. We'll look beyond retirement or other life changes to explore why so many of life's transitions, from career changes and becoming an empty nester to caregiving, loss, or simply growing older, ask us the very same question: who am I now? Perhaps transitions aren't interruptions in our life after all. Maybe they're invitations to become more fully ourselves. As always, thank you for listening and for being part of this wonderful community. Until next time, listen inward, lead outward, and remember, every transition asks us to let go of who we've been so we can discover who we're becoming. Talk soon. Bye.